when I did my first run up and down the Grapevine, I realized, well, not only realized, my camera was not cooperating, so I sort of still owe you guys a video of the drive up the Grapevine. And I mean, from where I recharged to 80%, that's over in Bakersfield. You know, from what I've read, you know, things like this Spark EV and I think possibly even the Leaf, if I'm understanding it correctly, can actually make it up over the Grapevine if they recharge in Bakersfield, but they have to, I guess, use the slow lane or drive with the trucks or whatever like that. So that's not exactly how I do things. Now there are some pretty strong gusty winds, so I probably won't necessarily be able to drive as fast as I would normally. And even then, I also don't break the speed limit, right? But say like that Toyota, you see it all the time. You know, while the ground is flat, they'll pass you doing 80, 85 miles an hour. And then they'll get on the hill and they can barely do the speed limit. It's just aggravating. And actually, I believe, yeah, here's the Tejon Ranch Tesla chargers. So jump on it, boys. There's only one stall taken. Woo! Man, 5 a.m. on a Saturday morning. You guys should be traveling now. But yeah, the Tesla, they put that charging station there. I think it was actually one of the early ones that went in, if I remember correctly, because you know, if you're coming from the Bay Area or Sacramento or whatever, you really want to at least top up the battery before you attempt this grade, right? Because a lot of people, especially in like summertime, you have some significant difficulties getting up and over this hill. And you'll see it too, right? Whenever, this is all vehicles, but internal combustion vehicles especially, you'll see the ones that haven't been maintained properly, and they'll come up the hill and they'll make it about halfway up before they overheat, or you know, something blows up or something horrible happens. I was following behind a Suburban at one point in time, and then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, this huge billowing cloud of black smoke, and yeah, it was no good. No good. You know, just because your gross vehicle weight rating says you can carry, you know, 2,000, 4,000, 6,000 pounds inside, you might want to think twice about that. But so right now we're on 70 mile an hour freeway. It goes this way leading up, but once the lanes start to condense down and you really get a pretty good upgrade, it slows down to, it's a 65 mile an hour freeway. Now, a lot of times for freeway driving, I tend to, I won't call it cheating, but I tend to be lazy and I just use my cruise control. It's so easy to modulate power and speed, but and I realize you're not supposed to use it on freeways that are busy or mountains or whatever, but I've actually found it to be one of the best ways of maintaining speed, you know. So, but again, like I said, I also have to be very cautious because if there are gusty winds, and apparently some mannequins died here. I don't know what that was, but if there are gusty winds, you have to watch out for the trailers. But otherwise, I mean, you know, right now we're not even pulling a full 60 kilowatts of power to go up this hill, so it's not that bad. I do like actually coming up at sometimes when it's more crowded, because it's like a festival of lights, you know. You're just cruising on up. Okay, now we're up to about 60 kilowatts of draw. So, and I do have to be careful because sometimes semis will creep over into this lane. So if they're already too deep and they're going really slow, one of them might come over. I don't like to occupy or hog the fast lane though, if I'm not the fastest on the road, or if I don't intend to be the fastest on the road. So I think we just saw a semi dip into this lane. So I mean, I don't mind if they do it. I just don't like how, you know, actually it wasn't a semi, it was a moving truck. I just don't like how the guy who's hugging my blind spot is just kind of staying there. Oh, and he's a high-profile van. Good. That's where you want to be on these windy days. Ugh. Yes, I'm videotaping. That's all we need is to posterize this guy. Anyway. But yeah, so you'll notice a lot of times, like, they have the water check area for the radiator and things like that, because it can get pretty hot coming up here during the summertime. And I think that's what some people have been kind of curious about with the Bolt EV, is we already know, at least in, I guess, mild cold, if you want to call it that. It seems kind of an oxymoron, but you know, in these mild cold temperatures, so not really hard freezes, the Bolt EV seems to be perfectly fine, perfectly comfortable with it. So what we're really missing right now is data on how the Bolt EV handles extremely hot weather, and it's probably going to be those Arizona people that tell us first, you know, because they're oh, come on, man, now you're the slow one. And so it's really going to depend on, you know, like the Arizona people are going to be getting their Bolt EVs in July, so they're gonna have the first stab at telling us exactly how terrible the temperatures are, but or you know, how much they affect the Bolt EV. I actually don't think that it will be as bad as people anticipate, and actually I think GM, the thing with GM is they can't make a what do I want to call it? They can't make a car that's too niche, right? Like they have the branding of the Corvette or whatever, and yeah, that sort of fits, but they have very little room to play in terms of what they can get away with. Like there was a recent article where a representative from GM, I believe it was talking about the Bolt EV is different, but it's not quirky, right? They can't afford it to be quirky because they need it to be a mass market car. Almost all of their cars need to be. So, you know, Elon Musk and Tesla, they can release a really weird, quirky car, and people will accept it because it's Tesla, right? Well, GM doesn't have that same leeway. They can't just try something new and hope people accept it. I mean, they do it incrementally, and half the time that's rejected, right? So, I mean, even look at these seats. they're pretty much rejected as a failure by a lot of people, and all GM did was, make them a little bit more narrow and reduce the weight of a stock seat like this by about 40 to 50%, while still including the airbags. So, they did what they set out to accomplish, and they've been criticized heavily for it. So, yeah, so they're very limited, and that was my long sort of way, or roundabout way of getting to is, Tesla, they can build a car that can barely go around a track one or more times, right? The heat dissipation isn't set up for it. It's good. It's like a funny car, right? It's good for acceleration, but it can't make it around Nürburgring in like a spirited fashion. I don't know if GM can release a car that can't, right? So the Bolt EV is not going to set any Nürburgring times, but it will finish, and you could probably drive it around the track several times, maybe quite a few times before it would ever overheat. And now again, it's not going to be going very fast at all. My guess would be somewhere in the mid 9 minutes, maybe low 9 minutes. But still, it'll complete the track over and over and over again, because, well, GM has to release a car that does that. Just what it is. So anyway, that was the Grapevine. Not a whole lot to it, really. Just a long grade, and yeah.